We've been, going for several weeks at 5:30 in the morning, and we've done that in the past, but it's really been inspiring and inspired workouts, but it's also got an opportunity for us to get together and work as a staff and get to know one another and communicate and evaluate and do all those type of things. So now that leads into spring practice, which now everything we've done in the weight room, what we've done at this 5:30 a.m. in the workout, now we need to transfer that over into the field. So I'm excited about that, excited to get started, and from there we'll hope to improve each and every day and get better. So with that being said, I know you have a lot of questions, and I'll let you guys ask those.
But I know you wanted to find some continuity in the secondary. Who exactly is working where in the positions there?
Yeah, number one, I'm really excited about our staff, particularly in the secondary. There are new guys there. We have split the secondary up. Galen Scott will work with our safeties as well as our whip and nickel. With Cody Grimm, we'll be working with that as well. Cody will be our graduate assistant. And then the one thing I like about Galen is a guy that comes with a lot of knowledge. He's been a coordinator, which I like that. A guy that's, worn my shoes, so to speak, and has been in my shoes. I want those guys to, think as coordinators, and they've ran similar defenses of ours, but then they've also adjusted to an odd front a little bit. So that's going to be, some good input when it's all said and done. Not that we're going to change, but we're always looking to tweak things and do things a little bit differently or better and improve and that type of thing. Coach Mitchell will coach our corners, which I really felt like that's a position that we need to improve. I think our corner play, being consistently good with some young guys, and then our defensive end play. But, having a guy with the experience that Coach Mitchell brings. Again, he's a guy that was a coordinator, which I really like, that mindset. He's been a corners guy the majority of his time. I think you'll see some different techniques and more techniques and different man things. I mean, you can only play man. There's only one inside-outside leverage, but there's different techniques to play, and I think that's something that you'll see us doing a little bit more of. But he brings his expertise on that part of it. So that's how we'll split that up, but also I think what's some areas that we can really focus in on and I think get better and improve on. And I think that's a big part. Last year was not the type of year by our standards by any stretch. But and part of that was because of injuries and having to put people in a lot of different spots and moving them around. That's going to be one of our keys this spring, is getting guys settled in a spot and growing and learning their position and understanding the expectations of their position, how it fits in the defense.
Personnel-wise, who's got a corner and safety?
Right now, I know it was in the paper a couple different ways, and I'm sorry I didn't have the right depth chart for you. Chuck Clark will be will start at safety, and backing him up will be Mook Reynolds, but Mook will also he'll be working at nickel. And you've got Jacque Allen will be working there at safety. We've moved Terrell Edmonds to Rover. He could play corner as well, but he's going to play safety. We've got Darion Green backing him up. Right now at our field corner is going to be Greg Stroman. I know there was things that he was at wide receiver. He's starting at our field corner. Backing him up, I'm not for sure right now. It's going to be young guys. I mean, we've got a few guys out this spring. But we'll rotate that. But it'll probably be Dwayne Johnson will be, to the field. And then you have, and he'll rotate back and forth. You got Curtis Williams in there that's going to get some work too. And then Adonis Alexander will be at our boundary corner. That'll be the main guy right there. You've got Ladler's hurt. So he's only going to be able to go through some individual drills. Faison, is hurt. So he'll be limited what he can do. And so we're a little thin on the back end there, particularly at corner, but that's okay. I think Greg and Adonis need as much work as they can get. And guys are extremely talented, but really haven't played a lot of corner. And so it's going to be a big spring for those guys.
Hey, Coach, I feel like I've gotten asked on a daily basis at some times, and there's been a lot of concern about Tim Settle and his weight, and it's kind of fluctuated up and back and forth. Is that a 344? I know what you got to list him at. Got him listed as right now. Is that about where you guys want him, and what kind of role can he play this spring?
Well, Tim's a big body. Just in general, I mean, he's got big joints. I mean, big knees, big elbows. I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to be a 310-pounder, but he has worked to drop his weight. I think he can still drop a little bit more, and he's working with our dietitian and with the strength coach, and we'd like him to drop. It's not going to happen overnight. He's got to be disciplined and do some things, but he's working at that, which I'm really proud of him for that. He's a guy that we're counting on, and he's going to get a lot of work this spring. I think our defensive tackle spot is probably it should be one that we have some quality people coming back. Obviously, you have Ricky Walker coming back, that we redshirted last year that played quite a bit as a true freshman. Steve Sobchak is the guy that's really had a great offseason. And then you throw Tim in the mix right there. And then you got another young man, Harry Lewis, that we redshirted to go along with Woody Barron and Nigel Williams. That's a solid position for us, but we're looking for playmakers. And I think Tim has that potential. But he's got to be a guy that's learning his position, learning the defense, and then learn to play at a high level and playing against guys that are comparable size-wise and that are physical guys and being able to play fast. And that's going to happen. It's going to come one day at a time, but it's going to happen when it's all said and done.
Coach, do you have a whip linebacker right now, or would you just move a backer over if you...
No, we've actually moved Anthony Shagog to our whip linebacker spot, and Mook Reynolds is working at our nickel spot, and I'm not for sure Anthony can't do both. So we're going to give him that look. A lot of times in the spring, in the past, we've also played just a whip at that position to evaluate not only their abilities at the line of scrimmage, but their abilities away from the line of scrimmage. Anthony's played both safeties as well as now playing our whip. He played kind of our rover in the bowl game and did a very nice job. He played well down the stretch. He made a couple of nice plays in the UVA game. He has abilities, and I'm excited what he can do. And we're going to give him that work as a whip and as a nickel. Along with Mook. And then there's another guy, a local guy, Jonathan Galante, has done a great job, has been a great worker in our off season, has really made some big strides, and I like what that kid's all about. He performed well for us on special teams last year. He's a kid that cares. It's important to him, and just like what he's about and the effort he gives. And he can run. He's a kid that can run. Anytime you got a kid that can run, you're going to give him an opportunity. But John, it's important to him, and it's important that he performs for his teammates out there, which I appreciate. But we're going to work with Anthony at our whip position. We have Raymond Minor there, but Ray's going to be limited in what he can do contact-wise and should be able to do some drill work. But he's not going to be able to do any contact work this spring.
But two things, I'll go ahead and get them out of the way now. One, you mentioned, it seems like every time you come out of winter conditioning, there's at least one or two guys that really jump out and impress you as far as young guys. I don't know if there's anybody this winter that really fit that bill. Second of all, you've got some guys to look at the end spots, but I know you need some depth there too, for sure. Who are you looking at in particular?
There's Terrell Edmonds was a guy that really stuck out. Chuck Clark really stuck out. Andrew Matuapuaka really stuck out. Woody Barron and Nigel Williams really stood out. Kenny Canham stood out. Those young ends were improving, and now they need to get ready to transfer it onto the field. But those particularly, you're counting on some of your older guys, but then you saw, like I said, Terrell Edmonds was a guy that did some really good things. Adonis Alexander was another guy that has a lot of abilities and starting to see what his potential can be. Even a Tremaine Edmonds is another guy that probably started off a little slow, first time doing it, and as a lot of freshmen, they feel that first day or two, but then started picking it up and showing his athletic ability in our early morning workout sessions and that type of thing. But those are guys that really kind of stuck out. Steve Sobchak has really made big strides, which I've been pleased with him. Ricky Walker was another guy. As I come, there might be another one, but those are guys right now that stick out to me. And then our end position, we've got to grow up there. Right now we have Ken at one end. We have Vinny Mahota still at defensive end right now. He probably would be more suited to play defensive tackle, but at the same time, he plays so hard. He's a smart kid. You want him on the field at some spot. Right now, he's putting our top 4 out there. He's probably one of those top 4 right now, and he did a nice job last fall and is only going to continue to get better. For all those guys that played last year for whatever reason, whether it was from injury purposes or whatnot, experience is the best teacher, and those guys gain some experience, and you see a little bit more self-confidence, and now we just got to go and be consistently good, and I think Vinny's one of those guys that will do that. But after that, we're as green can be at our end spot, and that's with those kids, Trayvon Hill, Darius Fullwood, Hashan Gaines, and then Jimmy Taylor, all those guys. The first 3 I mentioned were here. Trayvon was out because of ACL surgery. I've noticed some things, though, in him with his explosiveness and quickness and get off that excites me. The same thing with Gaines. Those 2 kids, they give me just, without any pads on right now and some of our teamwork, you see some get off and some quickness and some twitch, and which that position needs. And Darius is a guy that's a bigger kid compared to those guys. He's more close to 260, 265. But he's a guy that can do some things fundamentally. And then Jimmy Taylor's a guy that's a true freshman coming in, and really, at least those kids I mentioned before, have heard it before, and they're hearing again for the second or third time, and Jimmy's kind of hearing it for the first time, expecting him to improve. But he's shown some abilities and can bend his body and change the directions, those type of things. But we're really going to focus with Charlie a little bit more with the ends. Now, don't get me wrong, he's coaching the D-line, but our GA is going to work. They're going to work together, but our end position, the way the offenses are with the spread offense and run the quarterback and doing different things and the style of plays that are being run, that position's a little bit different than it used to be when Corey Moore and those guys, where we could put their hand in the dirt, quarterback was under center, we could bend and go play fast all the time. Now these offenses are designed to try to slow your ends down, and we're always trying to find ways to get them to play faster. But with that being said, that position, the techniques and things haven't changed, but how you read things and what you're anticipating and playing certain plays, we'd like to get them to play a little bit faster. And with that being said, with young players, we need to grow up in a hurry. We need to have a great 15 days. And then we probably need to, I'd like to start back over again probably right after that, But we'll have this summer. Most of those guys, not all of them, will be here, and they'll have a good awareness underneath their belt and knowledge as far as what our expectations are, and then they can go out and do some things on their own this summer.
Coach, can you break down your 2 deep at Mike and Backer for us?
Yeah, right now at Backer, we have Tremaine Edmonds, who I'm excited about. He did some good things last year in limited roles. Played, solid in the bowl game. The Georgia Tech game, which was a tough game to throw him at anybody at that position, was okay, but did a nice job on special teams. And him playing, we kind of had a plan with that him going ahead and throwing him out there and getting him involved, him being in our room, that he would be farther along than he is right now, and which I'm excited about. Backing him up will be Jamion Moss, who Jamion really excelled on special teams for us last year, is a junior. That is a guy that I feel like is ready to take that next step. Just some things that we've done in early installation and early morning practices, I would say practice workouts. We've done a couple little football things, but from a mental standpoint, I like where he is right now. So he should be ready to challenge. I think there should be a competition right there. Andrew Matuapuaka, I really thought, after the first part of the season, really settled down and played well in the last half of the season. Right now behind him will be Carson Lyden. Sean Hulskamp who was the guy that was a backup. He's going to be out this spring with shoulder surgery. And, so we've really, those are the two guys at each, at each spot. Trent Young is another guy at Mike. His dad, Cam, played here for us years ago. Is a good football player, excelled on teams, is a walk-on kid, but reminds me in some regards of a Jack Tyler. Very instinctive, great vision. Maybe not the fastest, biggest guy, but is a good football player. So, he's a guy that you may see in there a little bit here and there.
Coach, I know injuries played a part, as you said last year. If guys can stay healthy this year, do you like the potential of really getting back to that dominant defense here?
Well, it's too early to tell right now. Our expectations, I'll say this, our expectations are not going to change. We expect to be the best, and that's not going to happen every year. But if we don't set high goals and demand high standards, then you won't ever get to that point. And I think with the potential that we have here, offensively, whether it's next year or down the road, and then if we can continue to play the type of defense that we played consistently over the years, I like the potential of this football program where we can get back to. But with that said, we've got a lot of work to do, and I think it would be a little premature for me to go out and say that we're going to be one of those type of groups. But that's going to be our expectations. We're going to work towards that and work hard every day to be the best we can be. You guys are all, did y'all sleep in or have a late night or what's up with all that? Huh? Was it basketball? There you go. I know the late game on a Sunday night at 9:40. Come on. They need to work that out. It may start on Wednesdays next year. Yeah. It's a thought.
Coach, you mentioned having Cody Grimm with you as a GA. What does it mean to have a guy like that who obviously knows exactly what you do? He's been through it. What does it mean to have a guy like that to be working with you this year?
Without a doubt, it's we've always liked our own guys, and and same with Coach Fuente bringing in some of his guys, particularly offensively. They understand the expectations. They understand the culture they want. The same thing here. We've had, we've been able to hire our own guys in the past. We've brought in our own guys as GAs because they know our work ethic. They know and understand our expectations. And it's good to have a guy, though, that also has played in the league too, has had success, but he's had success because he's had to earn it, and that's what this program's been all about. He was a walk-on kid that earned a scholarship that ended up being captain of the football team and then, playing in the NFL, and obviously a success story, but he understands the work ethic and what it takes to be successful, and he can give that back to our players, and I think our players look up to him because the guys that are here now know who he was and how he played, and so that anytime you can have that guy that's been involved and understands the expectations and the demands and the work ethic it takes to be successful and can give that back is always a plus.
Anything else for Coach? All right.